Thinking about quitting that job? Well, on today's video, we're going to be talking about some things you should either be thinking about or considering before you take that leap. Let's go. In 2017, I sat down at my laptop to email my resignation letter. You know, at this point, y'all, I had already been working and rocking in corporate America for around 5 years, working for companies like TIAA CREF, Wells Fargo, NTT Data, and y'all might rock with this depending on how y'all eat and how y'all roll, Trader Joe's. Now, I don't know where you are at your point. Maybe you're months out, maybe you're a year out, maybe it's just in your mind and you're on YouTube to try to figure out what things you should be thinking about and how you should be preparing. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So the first thing I want to talk about is when you're thinking about jumping out there, there's a lot of fear that comes into that. And one of those first questions you ask is like, will I survive? So there's two numbers that I want you to know and focus on. Let's take a look. All right, so one of the most important things to do, right, are think about these two numbers because I want you to know your numbers. So let's take a look. So the first thing I want you to ask yourself is, hey, how much money, right, do you actually make on your corporate job, right? This is all a mental thing, right? Because some of you all might be making, let's say, 50,000. Some of you all might be making 100,000. And because you're making that, you're thinking, my business is just getting started, or I'm just revving up. Will I be able to make that amount? And because I can't make that amount, I'm not going to take that jump. So let's go ahead and figure out what's that number that you actually make. So let's just keep it simple. Let's just say in your actual paycheck that you receive, do direct deposit or through paper check, hopefully not paper check at this point, right? Do that actual check that you get. Let's say you make $1,000 is what you get, and you get that monthly, right? So that's going to be for the year $12K. Let's say you get paid on the 15th and the 30th of every month, right? Let's say you're going to times that by what, 2, so that's going to be $24K a year, right? And then let's say that you get paid every 2 weeks. Right? That means there's 26 pay periods, which means you'll be making, let's just say, $26K a year. So this is helpful because for a lot of you all, this number right here is scaring you, or this number, when at the end of the day, you should be thinking about, hey, this is the amount of money that I actually get from my job, right? So that is the number that I'm trying to at least hit to make sure I'm able to maintain the same lifestyle that you have right there. So that's the first number, is how much money do you actually make? It's been a game changer for a lot of people when they realize, yo, I actually make a lot more, or not only do I make a lot more, but sometimes you realize, yo, I can make that number happen. Don't aim for that big number, aim for the number after taxes. All right, so the second thing I want you to think about in this journey is what is the amount of money you need to be able to survive each month. You have to know your numbers. It's so important as you're going throughout your journey to make sure you're not stressing, and by knowing your numbers and knowing how much you need to maintain each month is very, very helpful. I look at this as a pyramid, and I look at it on 3 levels, right? So the first pyramid is probably the most important, right? I'm going to put MI for most important. That's because it's where you live. So what's the roof over your head, mortgage, rent, all that stuff. Can't get around that for a lot of things, right? Overall, like transportation out of jar, so I'm going to put a T there. The next thing after transportation might be food, right? You have to eat. For some of you all, you might have other basic expenses that you have to hit each month. That's what's in that category. As well as, I'm going to put a little line right there. I want you to think about your basic business expenses. So that might be your website, right? It might be certain people that you pay, that you have to pay each month. What are those basic expenses that you have to hit in your business to keep everything flowing and keep everything going? That's that first number I want you to know, because here's the thing. When you add up the savings that you have before you quit, hopefully, when you add up maybe the money that you're currently bringing in your business, right? You have that total number. And then what you'll be able to do is, when you have this number, you'll be able to divide it by that number right there, by this number, and then you'll know how many months you have of survival, or how many months you have to thrive, right? So important. The second number I want you all to think about, or the second level, right, are those other things that you might be able to get around or things, but let's talk about it. All right, so we have like student loans, right? Student loans might be one of those things. Certain debt, right? Like healthcare, right? All of these things are important at the end of the day, but if you needed to, if things got rough and you needed to like drop healthcare, you might be able to do that, right? You could do that. And then the third level is all the other extra stuff that are important that might not be 100% needed, but I want you to think about this number right here. So what is that number one number? And then what is that maybe 1 plus 2, right? What is that second number? So you always know at every point, like what is it that you're going to need and how many months out you are before you have to might go back at a job and get something. Y'all, luckily I didn't have to go back because my numbers are thriving, as I know you will too, and you'll do well. So So the next thing I want you to do, and this is great for mindset and a daily reminder, especially if you have some time before you jump out there, I want you to actually write or type your resignation letter. And not only write it, but I want you to print it and frame it or put it somewhere for you to see it. In this clip right here, you should be able to see at the very top of that shelf, see my letter, right, that I wrote. And not only do you write that letter and you put it somewhere for you to see it every single day, but then I want you to also, what I did, you see at the bottom of mine, I want you to write a check, right? Write a check for the amount of money that you would want to make that year. So what I did was I wanted to make at least 100K coming out the gate that first year. So I wrote a check for $8,333, which times 12 should equal close to 100,000. And that was one of those things that I saw every single year or every single month. And here's the thing about that, y'all. When I actually emailed that letter to my job, all I did was change the date and maybe changed a few words. I sent the exact same letter that I was looking at every single day. Just one of those quick mindset things that you can do every single day to know that, yo, you are on your path to getting closer to quit. Next up is I want you to use the time that you have at your current company, your current position, job wisely. So some of you all might be working virtually, so you have time in between work and when you're done doing work to like work on your business, to do other things. If you're not using that time wisely now, so let's say you're doing your certain work and then you're talking on the phone to friends and stuff, or you're doing your work and then you go take a nap and then wake up and finish, right? If you're not using that time now the way you should be, why do you think, yo, that when you have totally free time, right, when you finally quit and you finally leave and you finally jump out there, why do you think you're going to then be able to use all those hours? Like, train for it now, train for that opportunity now. I don't want you in the bed knocked out, right? I want you in there doing work, using all those hours the right way, training yourself for what it takes. The next thing up is, this is one of the most important things, y'all. Be careful who you share that you're leaving or those goals or those dreams with, right? Especially when it comes to doing something like quitting your job. So one of my quick stories is when I decided I wanted to quit, you know, I share it with, you know, family and even my grandma. I mean, she loves me, she appreciates me, she rocks with me, love her back, like my ride or die in that sense, right? But when I told her, you know, she was like, boy, you sure you want to quit that job, right? Sure you want to do that? You got a mortgage, you got payments. She said, I work from home, so I probably wasn't doing work anyway. She was like, you got a good job. Like, do you really want to do that? And y'all heard that for months. So I was strong enough at the end of the day to be able to still know that me and her had different risk tolerances. Like, so what she thought of success and like working in corporate and working for a job was different than what maybe I thought of. So I was able to combat that. But for some of you out there, when you tell certain people, it could sometimes maybe allow you to like not jump out there as quick or allow you to not do that. So be careful who you tell those things to. It makes a huge difference in those jumps that you make in your life. All the things that we discussed today are so crucial, making sure that your mindset is right, making sure that you're not stressed when you jump out there, and making sure that you are able to make decisions based on like fearlessness and courage and not necessarily based on fear because you didn't set yourself up the right way. Y'all check out part 2 video with some more ways that you can, you know, think about this or things that you should know. And as always, y'all, I'll meet you at the top because the bottom is getting way too crowded, y'all. Peace.